Welcome back, Funkers, to a brand new episode of the Funker News Network. I'm Ronnie, your host, and we've got a great lineup of videos to talk about today, all of which, as always, are available for you on the app and on the website. Now, we're going to cover a Syrian drive-through artillery and gunfire, a user-submitted near-side RPG ambush, a close-quarters law enforcement-involved shooting, and last, but certainly not least, 246 years of Marines doing Marine things. Make sure you've hit the sub and downloaded the app, and let's jump right in. Notice something. It's important. I said talk about in my opening for the show this week. We've gotten a lot of comments lately about talking on this show, and I've got a groundbreaking announcement for you. That's what it's designed to do. In this show, we go over topics from the Funker 530 team for everything from changes and updates to the app, to the trending videos we post, and occasionally hot topics from across veteran and public service news. It's designed as additional content for you, not as a replacement for what we do best, which is bring the best combat footage on the planet to you. So just because we're uploading these doesn't necessarily mean that the regular footage you're used to seeing is going away or is going to be any less. This is additional. So if you like the videos we're talking about, head out to the website and to the app and give them a look. Now, occasionally, some of them also make their way to YouTube as well. Now, if you don't like hearing our perspective on this stuff, don't watch it. You can continue watching all the other content that we're uploading every day. Funker 530 hasn't changed. We're adding more and we're doing more. Anyway, I wanted to kick off this week's review of videos with an absolute banger of a ride through the streets of a city in Syria for an ambulance driver. Josh covered this one from the Funker 530 team, and it puts us into the driver's seat of an ambulance speeding through a downtown war zone with explosions and gunfire, and it's all indicative of one of those Call of Duty vehicle missions. In our research for the video, we were able to find that the ambulance isn't affiliated with the White Helmets. The White Helmets being a somewhat controversial group that got caught up in providing aid to some of the extremist factions that had been released by the Assad regime into the Free Syrian Army. But wait, isn't the Assad regime fighting the Free Syrian Army? Yeah, it's wild over there. This video gives you an excellent look into the day-to-day nightmare that's been plaguing the streets of Syria, where infrastructure is next to non-existent. Now, we still plan to deep dive the Syria conflict in a future video, so be on the lookout for that if you're a little behind on what's been happening there the last decade or so. This video specifically is available on the YouTube channel, as well as obviously on the app and on the website. Go check it out. In our next video to review, and I'm excited about this one, our very first community-submitted video through our Funker 530 submission form. I can't tell you how good that feels to say. We launched the submission form for you to provide a means of sharing your experience to preserve the hard work, blood, sweat, and dedication that's been put into the global war on terror the last 20 years. Community member Josh Smith sent in a portion of a series of rolling firefights with the Taliban in Ghazni, Afghanistan. Now, this is in 2012, and the ambush specifically initiates when an RPG from the left side of the visible compound comes inbound, which appears to catch our community member in a near L shape with targets down the right wall as well.
Hey, we're gonna hit her on the left side. Come on! Let's go!
Now, although the video stops just prior to presumably what would be the clearing mission on the compound, submitter Josh provided a bit of context for the later engagements, which will eventually lead to the capturing of a ZPU anti-aircraft gun. Nice work, dudes. Now, this is exactly the kind of video we were hoping for when we opened the submission form. We'd ask that you not use the form to submit non-original content, though. We scour the darkest corners of the World Wide Web already looking for what's out there, and to be honest with you, some of it needs to stay right the fuck where it is. This form is an opportunity for you to send in your own footage, recognizing that Funker 530 is here to showcase that to as many around the world as we can. Enabling our active and veteran military community is ultimately what our fundamental mission is. We share videos, I get it, but ultimately our goal is to be a voice of veterans rather than just a video site. It's the effort of enabling our brothers and sisters in arms to be great every day, to remember those that we lost and those that serve, that continue to serve, and that have served. That's why we've partnered with the Gunbox to bring a hefty 40% discount code on the Guardian. The Gunbox is a sponsor of this week's episode, but I would consider this less of a sponsored segment and more informational about the Guardian and my experience with the Gunbox. This Veterans Day discount is for Funker 530 community members only, and they're doing a sale in honor of our veterans to take the cost of the Gunbox down by what appears to be an irresponsible margin. Now, we covered the Guardian in our showcase for the Gunbox a few months ago, which I've linked down below, and there's also a card for it up above. It's an absolute dump truck inside and has all the technology you could want while looking great in the home. The Guardian not only has RFID and keypad access, but you can also get into it with a fingerprint swipe. So if you lose, for some reason, all of your fingers, along with all of the RFID options to get into it, and you forget your passcode, just reach out to customer service and they'll get you into it. Now, we work with the Gunbox for a few months now, and they've been an absolute pleasure to work with administratively as well. Their love that they have for this community shines through this offering, and you can get yourself 40% off using the code VETERAN40. Click on it, head over there, take a look at it. It's good. The next video stirred a little bit of controversy last week in the comments when we posted it, and I wanted to put a few minutes of time against it here. On August 9, 2021, an officer-involved shooting occurred in Tustin, California. Austie covered this one. And long story short, the officer ends up discharging her service weapon into a homeless man with a stick, which led to a fatal wound. There are a few key elements to point out here, though. When watching this video, it's apparent that the officers know the suspect, as we can hear one of the officers relay, "I know you."
I know you, come on.
It's also relevant to point out that the original call to the 911 dispatch described a homeless man living in the bushes in front of the mobile home park, and the caller specifically noted a huge steak knife.
And his big, huge steak knife.
Now, with that context in mind, the officers cautiously approached the man with both lethal and less lethal options available to him, and after some pretty heavy back and forth trying to get him to come out, he emerges rapidly with a large stick. Now, the body cam officer draws and engages with a less lethal taser, which, as is unfortunately very common, seems very ineffective. Now, in a split-second decision, as the homeless man moves rapidly towards the third officer, the second officer fires 2 shots from her duty weapon. At least one of those shots strikes the suspect. The suspect would later be pronounced deceased. It's important to reserve judgment on some of these videos without ensuring that we're taking some context into account. The context specific to this situation is that the man apparently had a history with the police department. The information that presumably made its way to the officers included a huge knife, and these officers are inside what many would consider to be an extremely dangerous distance for a knife-wielding suspect. Now, we don't analyze these videos for good shoots or bad shoots. We're calling balls and strikes here, and we try to present them as a bare video fact based on what's presented. Now, with that context in mind, and because we have quite a few law enforcement professionals in our community, we'd love to hear what your thoughts are on the video. Let us know down in the comments. Now, last, but I guess not least, I don't know. I was forced to do this next segment against my will. Just throwing that out there. I was forced by the single Marine on our team to cover this next part, which is the Marine Corps birthday. While I'm not personally a Marine, one of our writers is, and he was absolutely adamant that we have a slot in here, and he was able to get his message out to you. Here's that message. Now, the Commandant and the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps put out the 246th Marine Corps birthday message on November 4th, and relayed a pretty strong message to every Marine in the 5-minute video. They made it abundantly clear that every Marine needs to stand to, because while the U.S. military is going through a paradigm shift in their warfighting doctrine, it doesn't mean that our enemies are taking any time off.
We're right behind you, about 1 mile foot in the climb.
When our nation called, Marines were there to defend her.
U.S. officials increasingly worried by the hour.
But our enemies now pose an ever-growing threat to America and our way of life.
Another U.S. Navy warship.
Now, before the end of the video, the Commandant of the Marine Corps had one strong statement that really stuck out to us, and that was that we will always remain most ready when our nation is least ready, because we must protect our shores and we must protect our citizens. Now, if you haven't seen the full birthday message, you can find it and a relatively decent article from the only Marine currently on our team down in the description. He does pretty well with his spelling outside of his little sign that he made for us all. Now, to all our Marines out there who are presumably celebrating the Marine birthday all this week, if you're going to drink and drive, wear a condom. Semper Fidelis and happy birthday, Marines. It's crunchier than I thought it would be. Very crunchy. Well, that's going to be it for the Funker News Network this week. Again, I'm Ronnie, and if you enjoyed the Funker News Network show, make sure you're dropping the sub and hitting the bell for notifications on the next episode. Make sure you've downloaded the app, and if you want to talk a little bit more about these videos, I'll be live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard on my channel, playing a special night of games in Call of Duty Warzone, inviting all veterans to play with me as a community and discuss your service. Follow the link down below. We'll see you in a little bit, and we're out of here. Stay informed.